everybody, I'm going to show you how to play a couple different math games with a deck of cards. If you don't have a regular deck of cards at your house, you can use any number cards that you have from a different game, like Uno, or you can make your own cards. So I just folded up a piece of notebook paper and started making this deck of cards. You'll need 4 of each number going all the way up to 10. So you can decorate them however you want. You can do them in different colors. You could add your own pictures and make your own cards that way. The first game we're going to talk about today is from Everyday Math, and it's called Name That Number. So in order to play, you can play by yourself or you can play with a partner. You flip over one card, that's going to be your target number. So the first card that I flipped over was a 3. And then you are going to put 5 cards in your right in a row like this. So the cards that I have laid out are a 4, a jack, a 3, a 6, and a 4. And I'm going to see if I can use any combination of those cards to create my target number, which is 3. You can decide before you play. You can either not use face cards, or I usually like to make them 10. You can make them different amounts, so the jack could be 10, and the queen could be 11, the king could be 12, whatever you want to do. I'm going to say that all face cards are 10. So I'm going to see which math sentences I can use with these numbers to try to create the number 3. You can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or a combination of any of those. You just have to use at least 2 cards. So it's looking like I could do 4 divided by 4, which is 1, multiplied by 3 in order to make my target number 3. So whatever math sentence I decide, if I make my target number, I get to take all of those cards that I used and my target number to put in my stack. If I wanted to use a different combination, let's see, I could do 10 you could come up with really anything. So I have a friend in my class who's excellent at this and could probably come up with 4 different combinations. But for right now, I'm going to use the one that I just came up with. So 4 divided by 4, which is 1 times 3, and I get to take those. Now, if I'm playing with somebody else, it would be their turn with a new target number. Or if I'm playing with myself, I get to make my new target number. So I flip over a new target number card. Right now it's a 7. And then I just fill in this top so that I have 5 at all times. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'm trying to make a 7, and I have a 2, a jack, which is worth 10, 2, 6, and ace, which I'm going to say is worth 1. So I could do 6 plus 1 and take that. I could also do 4, 6 minus 4 is 2, 5, minus 2 is 8. I could do 10 minus 2, which is 8, minus 1, which is 7. So whichever combination you come up with, you get to take and keep those cards. At the end of your game, whoever has the most cards wins. Hey everybody, we're going to learn another math game that you can play just using cards. You can use a deck of cards like this. You can use any number cards that you have from a different game, or you can make your own cards on paper. If you're making your own cards, I would say you need at least 4 of each number, and then go from 1 to 10. If you're playing with a regular deck of cards, you'll have to figure out before you play and just agree with your teammates on what you want the jokers to be and the face cards. I usually make them worth 10. You can also decide that the jokers are wild if you want, or you can just take jokers and face cards out. Today we're going to talk about how to play Topit. And depending on what math skill you want to work on, you can play number Topit, which would look like I flip up a card and my partner flips up a card, and whoever has the biggest number wins. So that might be a great skill for people who are just learning their numbers or learning how much each number is worth. These are great cards to use if you happen to have these because they have things that you can count on each card. If you're making your own cards, you might just put, that could be kind of a double activity where your student has to put, if they make a 10, they have to put 10 somethings on that card. So 10 dots, 10 pictures, whatever they want to do as long as there's 10. And that way when they're playing, they have a way to count and compare those numbers. Another game we like to play is Addition Topit, which means I would flip up 2 cards from the deck, my partner would flip up 2 cards from their deck, we would add them together, and whoever has the greatest sum gets to take the cards. So I have a 10 and an 8, which means my sum is 18. This person would have a 10 and a 5, which is 15, so I would get to take those cards. If they're in the event of a tie, let's say that we turned up the same amount, then we would play right on top of those cards, and the winner would get to take all of them. So, for example, if I flipped up a 2 and a 3, my partner flipped up a 4 and a 4 and a 1. We both have 5, which means we tied, and then we would play right on top of those cards, and I would get to take all the cards if I won that next round. We also like to play multiplication Topit, which works the same. You just turn up two cards, find the product. So this would be 10 times 2, which is 20. This would be 10 times 6, which is 60. So this person would get to take the cards. Subtraction Topit and division Topit you have to be careful with. If you want to play those, that's great. You just have to make sure that you're always subtracting from the bigger number and dividing with the bigger number. And sometimes cards don't divide easily. So in my classroom, we usually just play addition Topit, subtraction Topit, and we also play, I've played number Topit with younger grades. To play fraction Topit, each person flips up 2 cards and creates a fraction where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So this player flipped up 8 tenths, and this player flipped up 8 tenths, which is the same fraction. So this will kind of show you how it works in a tie. I would then flip up 2 cards and make my new fraction 6 sixths, and then this fraction is 10 tenths, so we still have the same. We would keep going. Then I have turned over 1/4, and then I have turned over 7 tenths. So at that point, I would have to figure out, okay, 7 tenths and 1/4. Are those the same? Are they different? Who has the bigger one? In my classroom, we use scratch paper to compare fractions on paper using the butterfly method. If you know what that means, great. If not, and you would be interested in playing this game, let me know. And then whoever has the bigger fraction gets to take the cards. Another way to play is to play place value Topit. My kids use, we just either remember that there are how many spaces we want to play with, or we make our own little placemats using paper. So we would have a ones place, tens place, hundreds place, thousands place, and sometimes we play up to 10,000s place. If we're playing up to the 10,000s place, for example, that means we have room for 5 cards. So you get to flip over a card and decide which place you want to put it in. I flipped up a 9, so I'm going to put that pretty high in my number. I'm choosing to put that in my 10,000s place. My partner flips up a 10, which we cannot use, unfortunately, to play place value Topit. So you can decide as a group, either they get to pick their number or they just have to set that to the side. If they flip up an 8, they might decide they're going to risk it and put that in their thousands place. And then we would just continue until we have built a 5-digit number. At the end of that game, I will go ahead and build 2 numbers. At the end of that game, we would get to see who has the larger number. So what happened here was I was playing quickly, and I drew a 1, but I had left my thousands place open, and it's my last spot. So if you can see, this player made 97,542, and this player made 81,531. So I would get to take the cards. Those are a few different ways that you can play Topit with cards. Let me know if you have any questions. So this is a game that you can play with regular playing cards. As always, you can make your own cards. This is actually a game my grandpa taught me, and it's called Pyramid Solitaire. So to play, you set up a pyramid. Each row gets progressively bigger by 1. Make sure you have lots of room. And you are making 13. If you are playing with younger kids, you can change it to where you're making 10. And you keep building your pyramid until you have a bottom row of 7. I have not allowed enough room. So we're going to kind of scoot this over and see if we can get it all to fit. Seven. Okay, so kings are worth 10, so those can be automatically taken away. Kings play all by themselves. Then queens match up with aces, jacks match up with 2, and then from there on you're just making 13. So I would be looking for a 6 to match up with my 7, a 4 to match up with my 9, and so on. So I'm going to put this here since she won't fit on the edge. You cannot play any of these cards until they're fully uncovered. So I flip up the deck one at a time. I've got a jack. I don't have anything to play that with. A jack. 9 doesn't go with anything. This might be a disaster. 6. Okay, so I can match up my 6 with my 7. I've got an ace, which will match with my queen. So now I can look and see if my 9 and my 6, those are free now, so I can play those with anything here. 10 will go with my 3. 4 will go with my 9. Oh, and I probably should have played this one, because if I play this here, then I can take my king. There's mixed reviews. I say it's okay to take this 6 and this 7 since they match and that's the only thing holding each other up. There's probably people that disagree with that. That's okay. Okay, I've got a 2, 7, jack. I'm really looking for some 4s or a 3. Might be in trouble. There's a 4. So I think I'm going to risk it and take these. 10. There's a 4. It'll go with my 9. 7 and 6. And then the game plays until you are out of cards. You can also decide up front if you want to only be allowed to go through the deck one time, or if you want to be able to go through more than once. If I was going through more than once, I would take the cards that I discarded, and I would just keep it moving and see if I could go through. There's a jack I can match up with, and so on and so forth. So you just keep playing until you would win the game if you get rid of all your cards. I think I've only done that in my life like maybe 5 times. But it is possible. I have seen it done. So I'm out of cards usually after 2 rounds. I call it quits. And you can keep score by seeing how many cards you have left. So the next time that I played, I would be trying to have fewer cards. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'd be trying to beat it to get less than 12 cards left. So that is how you play Pyramid Solitaire. Hi guys, another easy math game to play with cards is you take your math cards. You can use a deck of cards. You can use any cards that you have from a different game, as long as they have numbers on them, or you can make your own number cards. If you're making your own number cards, don't forget you need 4 of each kind. So the way to play this game, if I had a large table, I would spread out the whole deck of cards, and then I would decide what number I want to make. So this is a great game for students in kindergarten or 1st grade, and really students of all ages, but especially in 1st grade and 2nd grade, they're working on making 10. So you can choose to make 10, you can make 15, you can make 20, and I would look around and I would see how different ways that I could make 10. So if I'm playing with face cards, I can decide that those are wild cards, or I can make them all worth 10. I can make them worth different amounts, just decide before you play. So here as I'm looking at this, I would say, okay, I could do 6 plus 1 plus 3. That makes 10, and I get to take those cards. And then we would keep going until all of the cards were gone, or until we couldn't make 10 anymore. And whoever has the most cards wins the game. This is an easy math game you can play with younger kiddos for number recognition. You can use regular playing cards, or you can make your own number cards. It might be really cool to have them make their own number cards just out of folded paper if they have to write the numbers and then draw that amount of objects on the card. They could do that with bingo daubers, they could do that with paint and Q-tips, they could do it with markers, they could do it with pencil, whatever they have at home. So the way that we would play is each player would set up their game board like this. So you'd have a 4 by 4 array of cards. And then the other player would also have their game board. We would use the remaining cards to flip up a number. If I have that number, then I get to flip that over on my bingo board. So I flipped up a 5. I don't have a 5, so I'm going to keep going. Next one is a queen. If I have it, I get to turn it over. And then same would go for the other person playing. They would get to turn theirs over. So it's a lot like bingo where you call it a number and just mark it on your paper. So I call it a 10. I flip it over. Call it an 8. I have an 8. And then play would continue until I turn over 4 either in a row, diagonally, or across, just like bingo. And I get to say bingo, and I get to win. A cool way to play also would be if you had number cards and then number words on a different card, or even numbers on a set of cards and then objects on the card. So for example, I have the number 10 written on a card, and then I have 10 dots or on the other card. So I'd have a stack of dot cards and then a stack of number cards. You can also play just the same with regular deck of playing cards. So that's number bingo. This is another game that you can play with regular playing cards, and you can practice addition, subtraction, multiplication, really any of the math operations that you want. So how I play is, if I'm playing with partners, one person would hold up 2 cards on their forehead like this where they couldn't see them, and the other person would give them clues about the number. So for example, if I was playing multiplication, they would say the product is 32, and I would get a chance to guess. And then, or if I still couldn't get it, like if I guessed something weird, then they could say the product is 32 and both digits are even. So they keep giving me clues about the numbers until I guess them. If I guess them, you can decide on a number of guesses before you play. Usually in my class you get 3 guesses, like 3 strikes you're out. If I guess it within 3, then I get to keep the cards. If I don't, the other person gets to keep the cards. So if I'm playing with 2 or more people, I can hold up this card, my partner can hold up this card, and a third person would tell us clues about the numbers, and whoever guesses the cards correctly first gets to take them. So that's how you play headbands. A game my students really love to play that's easy is I Love Math Shoot. I did not create this game. I believe it came from Schools for Healthy Lifestyles, but my kids have loved it for a long time. So you can play anywhere you are because all it takes is your hands. It's very similar to rock, paper, scissors, but we go, I love math, shoot. When you say shoot, you shoot out a number. So for example, if I was playing with a partner and we said, I love math, shoot, and I shot a 2 and they shot a 4, then we would have decided before we play if we're playing multiplication, addition, whatever. And so if we're playing addition, then the first person to say 6 would win the game. If we were playing multiplication, the first person to say 8 would win the game. And you can play points, but it's also just like rock, paper, scissors, where whoever says the answer to the math problem first wins that round, and you move it right on to the next round.